Hi, I'm Carissa, and I'm glad you came in. I see your name's Alicia.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
I'm 17.
Okay. What brings you here?
I have just been having some issues with school. Recently moved. My mom thought I should come in, so here I am.
Okay. And have you had issues with school before?
No, at my past school, I had a lot of friends. I was on a soccer team. I really liked my old school, but then we had to move, and now I'm just not really fitting in as well.
And what's different about this school compared to your last school?
Well, I used to live in Indiana, and now we're in Georgia, and there's just a lot of different people, different styles.
I could definitely see how that could be a big change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what specifically about school is not as fun as it used to be at your old school?
Well, I came in too late, so I couldn't try out for the soccer team, and that's upset me. And a lot of the girls were just different. I mean, to be honest, I'm the only white girl in the school.
Okay.
And I don't mind being friends with people of other color, but it's almost like they don't want to be my friend because I'm the white girl.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been hard.
So maybe a little bit more diversity than what you're used to. And so I'm glad you brought that to my attention. And as far as different culture, is there any similarities that you can think of with some of the people in your classmates?
There's other girls. I don't know.
In the same classes together, right?
Yeah.
So if you happen to wake up tomorrow and everybody, you know them all and they're really nice to you, what do you think that would look like?
Well, I think I would want to go to school more. I would hopefully be on the soccer team. And I don't know, there are times when I just think like the comments that I make, they just don't think's funny. Like, I guess it's just white girl comedy or white girl comments they don't like. And so maybe I would just know like their lingo more and how to talk. And
okay. So maybe being on the same page as far as communication and get understanding from one another and maybe building that trust up. Okay. So as far as motivation to want to make that possible, if you want to scale that from 1 to 10, 10 being really motivated, where do you find yourself?
I mean, I think I'm very motivated. I would say like a 7. I'm motivated to make friends. I'm not necessarily motivated to change who I am,
right,
just to fit in. But so I would say a 7. I do want to somehow create new friends to make this school year bearable because I can't go back.
So maybe what are some next steps do you think to make that happen? To maybe get more friends or like you used to have?
Well, I do like other sports, and I know that track is coming up, so maybe I could try to join the track team and try to find some common ground there. That's going to be more difficult because I'm the white girl again, so I'm not going to be as fast, but I could try that.
Well, some other techniques too, I really like where you're going with that. Maybe as far as we can talk about when the isolation began and map that out a little bit. So you said it started when you first moved here. Maybe some specifics. Is there certain classes or certain people you've been around that you feel that the isolation has really been unbearable?
Yeah, there's certain classes that are better than others. My English class is okay. They're all nice, but no one really picks me to be their partner, and no one really talks to me that much. At lunch, I just kind of sit with different people every time. No one's really invited me. I just ask them. And
well, it's good you're asking them. If this problem had a name, what do you think you would name it?
Like just any name. I just name it. Backpack.
Okay. Okay. So the problem with backpack then, if we can deconstruct that a little bit, and you say as far as the lunchtime especially, finding places to sit, maybe we can kind of work on the narrative of that issue and kind of come up with different ways of looking at it. And maybe you could go about when you say that no one wants to talk to you, test that out a little bit, sit with some people at lunch, and you could probably try that and do different steps and goals along the way, and maybe you said you thought about getting involved. What was it? It was track, right? So maybe that could really help too, and you guys could get to know each other more. And then maybe we could change the name of that problem, and maybe not backpack anymore, but something a good thing to have, and where you were before. So, but I definitely think we could focus on the here and now for this problem, and less on maybe where your school was at before, because I know that can be a good compare, or you can compare it pretty easily. So if a fresh start to focus on where we're at now, and then like you said, for the the tips that you want to make, I think that's a really great start.
Thank you.
So I'm glad you came in, and glad we got to talk, and I'll see you next week and see how it goes as far as starting up track. So,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so for Alicia, I decided to use solution-focused and narrative, and for her being to a new school and transitioning, I made sure to have some magical thinking of what we can do. I wanted to see where her steps were going to be next for her, and I felt like the magical thinking opened up those next steps, and I wanted to see how motivated she was, especially to do the solution-focused. I wanted to make sure she was motivated in order to have this accomplished. So I like to ask the scaling question of how motivated she is, and have her come up with her own steps to take next, because I felt like that was really important versus me just telling her. I also wanted to do the narrative theory and focus on her problems of isolation. I'm not sure as far as bullying goes. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of that just yet. I wanted to dive back into that more for the next session. But as of right now, it feels like she's just isolated, going through that new transition from school to school. And I wanted to map that out so she could get a focus on when in the day and where for school that was happening. And I just wanted to deconstruct the problem and just see where it was that problem was underlying. And she mentioned lunchtime, and to me that's when I kind of ruled out bullying, because it seemed that she was just having problems places to sit and not knowing a lot of people. But that would be something I'd bring up the next session, I felt like, to make sure she's not having that bullying go on. And I felt like the more circumstances she brings up and tells me about, the more that I would see that. And I also liked the idea how she brought up joining track. I think that would really help with her isolation. We named the problem backpack. That was something that we could have for narrative and give it a name, help her not be so joined to the feeling of isolation and have it externalized. And talking about when the isolation first began, and talking about the here and now versus her just being in the past and comparing her old school to her new school, that really helped maybe her live in the here and now and focus on now. So it seemed to be that that's what she was going to do, is focus on the here and now, because she was taking that next step to join track and to possibly sit with people during lunch break, and to try to make those friends. So for her diversity, her being the only white person, she felt like in her classes, and being at 17 at such a young age, that can be a really big pressure thing at school. And so for that diversity and those underlying issues, and then with her, like I said, her age and her setting, she seemed to be really cognitively functioning. She said she got good grades before, and she really seemed to have her surrounding. Her judgment was key. Her responses seemed to be pretty appropriate, and she seemed to know what she was talking about as far as when she was telling me about her issues. So really focusing on her next steps and going about the process between knowing where the isolation is at and working small steps to try to fix those would help her. So since she brought up those steps on her own, and just me to really encourage her to pursue that, and since she's so motivated to change, I really think that she will take those next steps to meet more people and get that support system, because that's really important in high school to have that support system, I feel like. So having that solution and having the narrative behind it would be really just important to get a better understanding. And obviously, I feel like in real life, I would want it to be longer, more in depth, more of what's going on with her issues. Again, to rule out that bullying and to see where her next steps were that she would be taking to make that commitment, and to see where that would go next. So again, since I think she did the steps herself, then it will really go far for helping her at the next level of being integrated with the school system and the community for support.